point out as well is Substance can be used for non-photorealistic stuff. There is no obligation to come up with something that looks real. It can just look good. And this is what these guys are doing. Obviously, for environment as well, used heavily. Another environment. I like these two, the two next ones, and this one and that one, because it's the same kind of atmosphere, environment, sorry, but not atmosphere. So you see that the impact of lighting, I guess, as well, and materials, choice of materials. Like enthusiasts producing that kind of stuff as well, that kind of production indeed. And stuff like from people from here in this room, Ben Killigrew, who's been talking this afternoon, has been producing this amazing series, actually. Like this one, if you're like me, born in the 70s, and you've been going through all these early years of computing and games and gaming, this shouldn't ring bells. There you go. Anyway, wanted to UK-based artist, very talented. This is a graph. This is a purely procedural texture. There is no geometry in this one. That's amazing. Anyway, want to browse through this. I want to talk a little bit about the products now. I want to focus on 3 products. First one is Substance Source. And Substance Source lately, we've been focusing a lot on fabrics, and hopefully you've seen some of the drops we've made. We've been putting a lot of efforts in making sure that you can find all the fabric types you can think of on Substance Source. You can customize them up to the finest details. We use a mix of techniques where it's a mix of scan-based information, like the leather itself, it's scanned, but the stitching is actually procedural. So it's a hybrid way of producing the content, and which means you have more freedom of customization after when you download the asset itself. So just wanted to share a few of them. And but lately also very lately, I mean the one we talk currently is the one about cars and car materials, like car dedicated materials, like carbons, car paints, obviously, etc. Everything you can think of. We've been dropping a lot of these materials. You will hear more about that this afternoon with a talk from Pierre and Nicolas from Allegorithmic. But we'll show you more of these materials and in action as well. So there is a bit of a surprise for this afternoon. So make sure that you don't miss it. But I especially like these guys. It's all procedural, by the way, again. So it's all customizable, and you can make them your own. We went even to up to a certain level where we wanted to have this clay material so that you could come up with digital prototypes that look like actual physical prototypes. I'm not sure about if it's something that is needed like some relic of the past, because if you're working digitally, maybe you don't need the clay anymore and the taping, but we wanted to make sure we had this in the library, and apparently it's very much appreciated, so hopefully you do appreciate it as well. So I was talking about the talk of this afternoon, and we will reveal what's under this blue thing here. So be sure not to miss it. It will be a big reveal. We're very proud of that. So we've been working with a very interesting team of designers, and some of them are here in this room again, and very, very proud of that. So that was for Substance Source. I want to talk about Substance Painter a little bit, but just to give you a few metrics. So sorry, it's at the bottom of the image here, but it says 10 million plus launches in 2017. So it's a fairly largely used piece of software now, and it's actually growing. It's more than 1 million since October 2017. It's growing. So the curve looks like this, and it doesn't stop for now. So for Substance Painter, all doing well. So we had more than 23 million sessions since January 2015. So that's pretty. Oh, by the way, this is counting only the sessions that we can record, because sometimes if you use Substance Painter behind a like a firewall or something. It's not recorded, so it's more than that. For instance, China is our #1 country when it comes to the number of Substance Painter users, but lots of the Chinese versions currently being used we cannot like count the number of sessions, and we cannot receive everything from that, right? Hopefully you've seen that. You've seen that at GDC this year we've launched a new version of Substance Painter with a better, improved UI and UX. We are very happy with the result. It's only the beginning. We try to make it as sleek and easy to use as possible. It's a process, so it will keep going. But the results already is way better than it used to be. So hopefully you've seen that. So I want to quickly mention Substance Animation Toolkit, and you have David in the room somewhere who's like back there. He's standing back there. If you have questions, ask this guy. So David is responsible. This guy is responsible for Substance Animation Toolkit. And Animation Toolkit is basically the most technical tool that we have currently available. So you have Substance Painter and Substance Source at the bottom of the technical pyramid, and Substance Designer in between, and Substance Automation Toolkit sits all up there because it's a tool for programmers, for technical artists, for TDs, for graphic engineers sometimes as well. That helps you actually programmatically come up with textures, and a large number of textures, a large number of treatments. So for instance, you can, let's say, if you have a database of given materials on the left here, through Substance Automation Toolkit, you can very quickly, very easily texture a whole bunch of assets that use that library of predefined materials. And if you make changes in that library, you can propagate that change into all your assets without having to reopen any UI, really, a graphical UI, really. So it's very useful, and this is actually an example of what a use case by the Creative Assembly in London on Halo Wars 2. They created a full product, a full tool around Substance Automation Toolkit that actually does exactly this. It does compute bakes the maps for you. Let's say you come up with a new asset you just modeled. It will bake the maps for you. It will generate the textures for you. It will do that all for you automatically. And you can explore opportunities, explore variations of given parameters in the materials so that you can very quickly populate an entire world with textured assets. Another use case with here also with Assassin's Creed, the movie Baldineg, and some form of Substance Automation Toolkit, some form of early Substance Automation Toolkit has been used to help texture this animus, and we're proud of that. So I won't go through all the points here. You can read through that another time. But basically, it's a very interesting tool if you want to make sure you're very efficient, like studio-wide, I would say. Finally, last thing I want to talk about is this guy. We launched the project at GDC of Project Alchemist, and we haven't said much since. We haven't said much at GDC. We haven't said much since because we've been working on it. All we said was this: it's a new standalone product in the Substance ecosystem. It took years of development. It's getting to a point where soon we will be able to show it, but not today. But today I want to show a little bit more about what it can do and what it will be able to do. So first, as a reminder, it's a tool dedicated to augmented material creation. Augmented material creation means everything you can think of that help the artist, but not replace the artist. So it's augmented in a sense that we can use a mix of techniques, procedural techniques, obviously, capture-based techniques. I mean, capture-based technique doesn't mean anything, but you can capture the materials instead of coming up with material like from scratch. You can capture some parts of it. You can do pretty much everything by hand. This is what artistry means, but I will show you a different meaning for artistry as well. But you can also use artificial intelligence, and it will be the first foray of algorithmic in AI. And what is important here is the mix of these techniques. If you have all these in the same tool, this is where it gets interesting. For instance, artificial intelligence. There is a lot of hype, obviously, around AI currently. The way we see it is that it can be extremely useful indeed, but maybe not as a full process. Maybe as part of the process, it can help you for some elements here and there. And this is what I want to show you. So first thing is I will show you some things that are blurred. So you won't see the interface because it's not ready. It's not ready for prime time yet. But some things you can do are very nice to look at actually already. And the first example I will show next is some form of replacement for bitmap to material. So bitmap to material has been here for years. And we've been asked a lot for a new interface, for a new simpler version of bitmap to material, for a new, more powerful version of bitmap to material. So Alchemist actually will play that role. Will play the role of the new bitmap to material. So the first video here illustrates the three first ones: procedural, artistry, and capture. Because the capture part is like from one image, you will come up with, of one given material that exists, you will come up with a full material from one photograph. Then artistry, you will see, we'll do some manual modifications. And the procedural aspect, obviously, is like extracting this data from only one picture. So it's a video, and I will talk about over the video. So you see it's blurred on the left and on the top. So it's an app, you see blue stuff happening on the left. But basically, that is generated from one single photograph, one single shot, right? During the day, it was a gray day, like we have so many in Paris. So it was like all diffused, that was good. So no so much shadows, but that helped. So what the user is doing here, Anthony, back in Paris, what he's doing here is using all the tools at his disposal that are in Alchemist to find the right portion of the texture he wants to use, try to make it tile, and boom, you see, it's fairly easy to make it tile. And then, of course, you can mix that. As soon as you've done your material, you can mix that with other materials you have scanned also, or that are procedural. So it's a height map-based blending here. And you see there is a red thing here that is annoying. So the artistry part is that you can still say, okay, I want to do a material copy-paste, but a smart one, right? So it's very simple, very easy. Like in a few minutes, actually, it took 4 minutes to get to the final stage. So like height map-based blending is nothing new. It's been here for years. You could do it in Substance Designer for like ever. But the combination of simple to use tools, and you have to believe me because it was all blurred, but it was super simple to use, is what makes it interesting. So that was from one image, one photograph. So we wanted to really focus also on making sure Alchemist would be the perfect tool for the treatment and the processing of scans, of like actual materials that you want to digitalize. So we came up with new algorithms that are like world class. First example I want to show is we worked on new normal to height filters. And this guy here is the one you can find in Substance Designer. So we're comparing with ourselves. And so we know what it's capable of. We know the limitations. So this is current. And if you look at the resulting, if you go from that normal on the left, you apply the algorithm, you obtain the height map in the middle, right? And then for like quality assurance purposes, you derive it and get to the normal map on the most right here. And you compare the two normal maps, they look slightly different, right? There are errors. The new version does that. So it does exactly what you would expect from normal to height. It does not break things. And this was before, you see, and this is after. So we came up with, and Jean-François in Paris came up with this new algorithm, really that is like top notch. And this can be applied in many situations. One is, let's say you want to have a photometric stereo workflow. So this is the leftmost image, series of images. You are on set, you set your camera, you don't touch anything, and then you have different lights, at least 3. And from these at least 3 images, here there are more, you want to extract the material. You want to extract the normal map, height map, diffuse, and diffuse, base color, sorry, not diffuse, and the height map. And so we came up with a set of algorithm that does that. So from this series of images, it gets you the base color image, the normal map, and then from the normal gets to uses the previous algorithm to get the height map. And so you get like this type of material digital. This is digital representation of the same set you've seen before, but lit differently. So here it's lit at the, let's say, end of day on a warm day. And you can now use it in a virtual environment completely, right? So, but like this uncalibrated photometric stereo type of processes are super tough. Usually, they take a lot of time. They usually require like small spheres, like chrome spheres or black plastic spheres that get you an insight on where the light is coming from, and then you have to remove it manually. Here, you don't need that. It's a fully automatic process. It's really, really impressive. So that will be part of what you will be finding in Alchemist. AI. We've been hearing a lot of people telling us, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" We're doing a lot. And one thing I want to show you. So there is one thing. I will show you two things today, but one is from us, one is from a partner. This one from us is actually an actual delighting tool. So this is the actual photograph on the left. And this is the result, delete result on the right. So you see, it's actually removing all the shadows over the highlights. And it's been trained, we trained an AI, a small brain to do that. We don't know how he does it, but he does it pretty well. that's the whole thing, right? And it's actually mind-blowing. I think this is the best delighter on the market, period. And so that will be in Alchemist. And so it's AI-based. We're very proud. As you can see, it's inferring some information that is not visible, actually. So if you look at that. For instance, here, in these very dark areas, he comes up with data that makes sense, right? So I'm not like, yeah. So it's really impressive. Really impressive what this algorithm is capable of. So that's something we're, again, proud of. I will be part of the launch when it's ready. So, by the way, all I'm showing is all work in progress. It will be better, hopefully, and will be, but most importantly, it will be in the tool, because now it's still like outside of the tool. It's separate elements I'm showing, but that will be very exciting. Also, one thing that is very important about Substance Alchemist is that it's an open platform. And yeah, I made the thing on purpose. I didn't have the space to put the big words. But yeah, anyway, so what does that mean? Is that you will be able, everyone will be able to, there will be an API, sorry. There will be an API for you to write like C++ code and plug it into Substance Alchemist as a feature, as a function, right? So the first people we worked with are NVIDIA, because they are super good. I mean, they are the best at AI, basically, currently. And so we integrated their plugin for super res. So what it does is that it takes like an image and up-reses it, right, up to 8 times. So a good example could be like you have like drone photographs, and you take part of that image and want to up-res it. And then from that image, you can use another process, like a bitmap to material, to come up with a full material. So you see, it's like the AI in combination with other techniques that makes it like super powerful. And the same tool, so you get from here to there. Obviously, I mean, you could obtain this using like good old techniques in Photoshop. It will take ages. It would take a lot of time, a lot of expertise, and it will require you to get out of the tool, and you wouldn't get that good of a result. Actually, this is where it's really impressive. It's automatic. It gets you on par or even better results, but it's available. And it's available in the tool. It will be available in the tool as a plugin. Right, other example. So speaking of like this ecosystem of users, it will be also open to all Substance filters, not only C++ filters, but Substance filters as well. So all the filters you can find in Substance Share, all the filters you can find on Gumroad, like for instance from Ben Wilson. He published that on Gumroad. It's a pure procedural filter that adds layers of stones on top of something. You can reuse that in Substance Alchemist as well. So let's say you have a base material. First, you want to add like a first layer of these stones, and maybe another, maybe make it tile. Sorry. Then another layer, then another layer, then another layer, etc., etc. And then you can combine again with using height map-based blending. You can combine with more materials like dirt, and then let's say wet dirt and even water, and add some little fine details, etc., etc. So very, very quickly you can combine all these elements and come up with a final material that you like, and that you can make a render of and relight again. All right. All right. So I told you I would tell you about artistry very quickly. What does that mean for us? It's not only like allowing the users to like by hand manually process stuff. It's also being inspired. And being inspired means sometimes just something like this. We implemented something that takes an input image, analyzes the image, creates on the right materials for you with the proper colors from that image, right? And creates materials so you can apply these materials very quickly. So you can have like mood boards and try out things very, very quickly using this. And it works pretty fine. Also, like the combination of these techniques, let's say you have a library of procedural materials that take as input colors, like this camo filter. Same thing. It does analyze the image on the left, comes up with a full material with the proper colors, and then you can record that store. Where is my mouse? Here you go. You can store at the bottom. Shit. Here you go. You should be able. You will store at the bottom like the materials. Very quickly you can explore like variations of a given material, but with a direction, right? And then you can still browse and play with the preset. A combined example, and this is the last one, is this one. Let's say you have a capture of all these materials. We have ways in the tool to come up with, like using SuperRes from NVIDIA here, come up with, like if you crop the interior part of that fabric, you can SuperRes it, then use it. You see the difference between SuperRes and not SuperRes. Not SuperRes on the left, SuperResed on the right, SuperResed, like this. And then come up with, obviously, like play that with all the parameters, like play with the colors, add variations, patterns that can come with everything. This one is coming from, I think it was an SVG or maybe a procedural noise generator in Substance Designer. This one is an image that was found somewhere in the internet, and you can extract some info and inject this info to come up with the pattern on the right. Again, you can explore opportunities and new ways of, these are interesting new ways of creating content very quickly from existing materials, mixing with new techniques, etc. All right. That's it for me. Sorry, I've been a bit long. But hopefully you like what you've seen. We're super excited about Substance Alchemist. Hopefully you will see more at SIGGRAPH. And we've started to launch the beta, the closed beta. We've received a lot of people, lots of requests from people willing to get into the beta, the closed beta. So it's we're slowly releasing it one guy after the other, one user. And yeah, that's the first time we show some of the stuff that will be in the tool. So we're very excited on our side. And one last thing before I hand it over to Ilwan is this. We're hiring constantly, so we're growing. So if you're like us, you can join the team. We're based in many places, mostly in France, but we have some people here in London. We have offices in the US, in Asia, etc. So please let us know if you're interested. And that's it. Thank you.